Hello everyone, it's been a while. Well, so yeah, I know I don't upload as much as I used to be because YouTube isn't really much my thing. Even though I still think YouTube is doing fine, aside from some moments. But other than that, I'm just not in the mood to do YouTube these days. And yeah, there's a good reason why I like reviews these days. And but to make up for it, um, something of what's going to happen next week, somewhere on Sunday. But that's a different story. Although I would say, why not give my thoughts on pretty much the second half and pretty much my thoughts on Death Battle Season 2025 or 2025 before we go to 2026 and give my thoughts on those matchups. First of all, we get to Spider-Man versus Deku, or Miles Morales. Yeah, they just call him. Yeah, I tend to prefer calling him. Yeah, I tend to just say Miles Morales versus Deku because honestly, it's much easier for simplicity's sakes. I know you can technically say Miles Morales versus Izuku Midoriya, but it's for confusion's sake. And whenever someone mentions Spider-Man, it's Peter, or not Miles Morales. If you just simply say Spider-Man, I would say, oh, you're referring to Peter Parker? If you're saying it's you could say Miles Morales, I would say, oh, okay. Yeah, you get the picture. It just doesn't really. I just prefer calling him Miles Morales. It's not Spider-Man. That's usually tends to be Peter Parker. But anyways, let's move on for the confusion. So let's say we get to another more. I would say obviously the racial side is pretty good. Uh, yes. Let's bring the two. Let's just say losers from their respective previous death battles. Why not bring back basically Miles and Deku? Yeah, let's see who's going to win. Yeah, let's go with the successors to the superheroes. Yeah, to be honest, I remember saying this in the Reddit post a while back. Like, good luck, Deku. I love you and all, but good luck for the good version of the century. Yeah, to be honest, I was really not hyping on. Look, I like Miles, and I'm still waiting for Beyond the Spider-Verse to come out sometime in 2 years' time. As for Deku, yeah, to be honest, I mean, the series was almost ending soon at the time. At least it already ended, and yeah, we all know how things went. Honestly, I was expecting Miles to win. I was expecting Deku to win. Let's be honest with you. Deku was always to me feels like a instant win for the guy. Also, the animation and music is peak, by the way, and I would say, hey, I do love, uh, well, I say the animation and music is peak as per usual. Of course, I do need to me. I would say running its usual music with Ty Watson and doing it featuring Ty Watson, both just obviously the title references to Yusei Run, the most iconic theme in the My Hero Academia anime, and also What's Up Danger. Obviously, this music does make a lot of references to Stay opening notes or references Stay Strongest Alive, one of my favorite tracks of the previous season, one of my favorite tracks of the show, as well as also the Soul Deku Soul. Also drop a nice reference, but also references to the recurring intro rip from What's Up Danger if you actually have some of some of that season premiere. By the way, kind of weird the original. I don't know. By the way, I'm guessing Deku's original I don't question it. I guess the original voice actors were busy or something. Did not come back to this, but yeah, that's just me. I would say, my man, you can definitely. Obviously, the animation Moro is peak as always, and also trying to blend 2D and 3D animation, to be honest. I mean, guy knows how to blend both, to be honest. And fun fact that is about this model is Miles' model is actually Spider-Man 2099's model, just mixed with the current model. All all aka Miles also just mixed with some Miles and voila, you get it was mainly just for the vibranium suit, to be honest. Um but yeah, the episode does show Moro can able to do master between 2D and 3D animation. This also applies to Deku. They also use his Fortnite. They also use the Deku. That also applies to Deku's model from My Hero One Injustice, by the way. So, and that's got to be good elements of mixing both English and Japanese. So yeah, interestingly, although this episode also spawns a meme, to be honest. Although I would say it spawns this meme, to be honest, which for those who do not know this meme, yeah, after basically losing against Asta with similar wavelengths of how he just Murph his way to basically that, and then starting a meme of basically him going, yeah, well, he's just gonna be the only street tier characters too. I step on the streets and you're dead. It, it, tight feeling. Yeah, look, I like my boy Deku, and I like Deku as much as the next guy, to be honest. Although I would say, please stop making fun of my guy, at least. Seriously, dude. Series is a masterpiece, in my opinion. But, anyways, still an amazing episode. One of my favorites of the season. Hulk versus Godzilla. Surprised this was also not the season finale, and yeah, I know this was also announced a while ago, to be honest. Surprised a while ago this episode was announced. Like, I think it was announced during the Reddit post when during the whole Master Chief versus Doomslayer rematch, where they say, hey, by the way, guys, I'm also going to be animating that plus with two other people as well. Yeah, they announced it early. I mean, like 3 whole episodes before that point, surprisingly. And yeah, I admit that Artemis has been kind redeeming himself for much after how he was doing after the season premiere, which still consider it's almost peak, but yeah, this is the point. Yeah, I just feel like Kratos of the show realized, you know what, I think I should probably get some extra help. And yeah, this is why later on episode why Master Chief versus Doomslayer, this and the next episode were kinda oh wait, sorry, I'm not supposed to talk about the next episode yet, but yeah, we're kind of always with extra help. But anyways, yes, they got David Finch and also Lewis to work on this episode, surprisingly. But anyways, I'm surprised how this is not the season finale. And yeah, this was a controversial episode that, man, there's so much research that even it took a delay. I mean, this episode was announced a while ago, to be honest, and took over one of the spot of the episodes. Yeah, it was kind now, fun fact by this matchup. Originally, Ben was actually going to do something during season Hulk during season 3. There was a fan poll, by the way, way back in the day, saying, "Hey guys, we had a poll at the time, which had a poll at the time, back in 2016, of course, where they went, "Hey, would you like to see Hulk fight either Broly or Godzilla? Either fight Broly, the Doomsday, or Godzilla?" And you know which? Yeah, I guess season 3. Yeah, there's a good reason why. Although we all know what happened, it ended up with Doomsday ended up winning, and years later, we also get to fight with him against Broly, albeit it was Super Broly, even though they did use some feats from. Oh, no, no. Broly, and let's finally get something on top. I mean, 3 whole seasons, to be honest. And while it was originally released for August 17, but delayed for a week due to animation reasons. And other than that, I would say the animation and music, man, I would say the animation is amazing to fight. Although I did feel like I didn't really like the pacing issue. I did feel like weird about the pacing part where it's like it takes five, took a few days. I know Bruce Banner needs to make the gauntlet work for Hulk to use to basically deal with Ultima, but maybe it's just me kind of feel like the pacing was a little slow for my taste, but hey, yeah, I'm not gonna but hey, I know geniuses take time to make this stuff, so okay. Other than that, I say I do enjoy the music, the animation, and wow, never underestimate Marvel's cosmology and Bruce Banner as a win con. Wow, this is something, yeah. Maybe I should underestimate. Yeah, maybe I should underestimate my opponent who basically that. Yeah. Other than that, I think it was a spectacular episode. All right, time for the 200th episode. Oh, by the way, I should also mention. Bye, I was in a playable character yet. Not doing business, but no, guess the Wild Hunt is in. Well, I guess I know what the Wild Hunt was doing. No, I would say Violet Merlin is somewhat of a decent voice actor, but I do enjoy his performances. Mm. Okay, now I can talk about the 200th episode. Honestly, I'm going to say I was a little disappointed Torin isn't working on this episode because thematically it feels like a Tor. It always feels like Torin's episode, to be honest, to do. And well, honestly, I was kind of thinking it was a Torin episode at times. I don't know myself. What happened to the? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I honestly feel like it was supposed to be. To me, it always feels like a Torin episode. Like mainly because Morty, he was inspired by Morty at the time and everything else. One second. Yeah, it feels like he was inspired by Morty. But yeah, same crew to be honest, surprisingly. Surprised Devil Artemis, Lewis, and David just announced, yeah, we're working also on this episode as well. Like, oh, normally we would let another crew member focus on this episode. We would switch to another animation crew, but it actually. But yeah, I still feel a missed opportunity. It's not Torin's episode because it would make a lot more sense if it was Torin, to be honest. Yes. It feels like it would be a nice little trivia. It would be a lot more fitting, but then again, Torin is also going to be ending an episode after that, so we'll probably get to that when we get to that. Other than that, I would say back to the episode actually. Man, I remember that it took a week delay to be on another like 1 or 2 weeks delay because of Lewis's request and everything, which understandable, to be honest. Although originally they want to make up for the week delay, only to get delayed another week just for good measure, and it made sense. This was mostly a tribute to Morty. It was mostly supposed to be a tribute to Morty, to be honest. And Morty is a main inspiration for Death Battle. Rest in, rest in peace. So I would be respectful for this one. Other than that, I would say the animation and music, it just really feels like how far Death Battle has come. Those episodes I consider as how far Death Battle has come. I will I would also credit that. I also see episodes. Yes, the this episode as well as two before that and one after I'll talk about later, which is Doomslayer versus Master Chief. Sorry, so Goku versus Superman, and Tree. E. Master Chief versus Doomslayer rematch, and Ruby versus Monk. And I will give a bit of an honorable mentions. Mario and Sonic's rematch, the 100th episode Mario versus Sonic rematch, and also Samus. Okay, and Samus versus Boba Fett remastered. So I always feel like had some moments I do enjoy, but they feel like interesting episodes to me to feel like worthy to be called how far Death Bell has come. And mainly because one of them is a lot earlier than usual. And the other, some good moments. I do love the animation and music, still hits hard, by the way. But yeah, I can definitely see why people don't like that episode. Excuse me. Okay, back to the episode itself. It really has everything. Lindsay reprising her role. All also have it's alongside Ginger and and Ginger is doing fantastic performances as per usual. Uh, and also be voiced by man, I also love the track Death in Blooms. Brandon Yates having basically Cassie Williams, who worked on the Ruby Volume series, as well as Master Estero, also have done really good performance. And I really love this. I do love both the English and Japanese singing, and I also do love how this is feels like a tribute to Morty, to be honest. It really feels like a tribute, as well as also able to be also perfect amount instrument usage, and I do remember. You can definitely tell the inspiration, and Death and Blooms is one of my favorite tracks of this year and season. This year, to be honest. Even the cover art even represent is the soul, Peter's Moon and Blood, and even used it for the promotion image. And I also do like the tribute after the preview of the next episode, the peak episode, to be honest. And one of my favorites of the season as well as all time. And then it really shows how far Death Battle has come from 100 to 200. So I also kind of feel like a bit of a missed opportunity not to get a Road to 200 episode. But I guess they were more busy to work on this episode and do another documentary episode. That's my kind of wish, but maybe, but hey, I still enjoy it. Still kind of wish we got a road to 200 or something, but hey, maybe I would like to see a road to 300 or a road to 250 or something like that. It'd be interesting to see about it. But then again, I would like to see some behind the scenes stuff and reviews and everything else from Rooster Teeth. But that's a story for another time and another day, and I kind of moved on from that. So let's just move on to the also, fun fact, this wasn't really originally the 200 episode of the show. That will be, I will just mention the season finale later. There, and Ruby vs. Maka was a fitting 200 episode. Yeah, I was thinking about either this or the season finale, but I'll get to that episode when we get to that episode. Next up, we have Blade versus Buffy episode featuring two everyone's favorite vampire slayers. And surprisingly, not Marvel versus DC episode. Man, I kind of miss Marvel versus DC, to be honest. List. But, hey, I'll be fine with that, ever. But I'm fine with either one, just showing up the show. Man, this is another live action episode from Ismahawk, to be honest. Yeah, I did watch one of the first season of Buffy the Vampire for this, and I never got watching the future seasons because, honestly, that'd be boring all day, and I was busy with other stuff at the time. So here's my thoughts on it. Man, the choreography is amazing, as well as the music, Nero Ash. And also, I do love the cameo appearances from the director. I also do love the cameo appearances with the with the crew staff just basically just being and they all died of it. Oh yeah. But yes, I do love the Inkshot, as well as Mari's performances, to be honest. Victory is also amazing, and yeah, never underestimate Buffy ever again, to be honest. Yeah, another banger is Mark episode. Alright, time to talk about the next episode. It's Torrance episode. Yeah, to be honest, yeah, we get to Torrance actual episode. Honestly, I was expecting Show versus Lightning, considering that kind of feels like what I imagined Torrance episode was going to be. But hey, that's just me, to be honest. So yes, it's a wonderful return to Torrin himself. Oh, yeah, it's been a while since Torrin has been on the show, since season 8. Yeah, I feel so old. But anyways, nothing on this episode. That's one of those. Yeah, maybe this is. Yeah, yeah, Fisher has always been a long-time animator since season 5. To be honest. And the guy is kind of carrying on this torch, I mean, yeah, anyways, here's my thoughts when this was first announced. Clive, you're way too early to show up on this show. Your game just came out 2 years ago. Yeah. Dante's return onto the show with a new opponent that's finally a Final Fantasy character that isn't from 7, and you chose the one of the more recent protagonists. I mean, there's others, but I guess you want to go with something a little more recent, whose game just came out 2 years ago, and yeah, I kind of had that limit at the time. You may be wondering, yeah, Scout versus Tracer was kind of the reason why, but also because I can be over prepared at times, and yeah, I was not really wanting to have someone that. There's a good reason why I put that limit at the time. And to not have any early deaths or something like that, I just don't feel like sending young soldiers to die. I just feel like I'm waiting for, why not? But hey, that's just me. And I remember Final Fantasy 16. I admit it was kind of underrated at the time, and although I would say Final Fantasy 16 was pretty much the rise of a voice act, ri- giving us a rising star. It's Ben Starr, I would say it's Ben Starr. I mean, the guy has been a bit more talk of the town name in more recent years, along with people like Ness Newbin, Jennifer English, and maybe a few others. Although, yeah, there are a lot, but hey, and again, there's also, I feel like this era of voice acting, they tend to grab a lot more live action, more people, but that's a different story. I'll talk about that maybe in the near future. That's a different story, and as well as this guy. Yeah, I'd rather not bring any references to that. Anyways, let's just get on with the actual episode. Sorry, it's not nonsense, man. Okay, sorry about that. Say, Torrent's return, the animation and music is always peak as always, as well as the devil's inside. Obviously, Brandon's iconic track, to be honest, on the show, and yes, although I still feel like Dante should have won that show, yeah, anyways. Although I still feel like Dante should have won that fight, but still I'm fine with the results, to be honest. I'm not usually that salty, to be honest. Although I still feel like Dante should have won that fight. But hey, then again, this is also a fight that Rio she worked on both games, to be honest. Although one of was, although yes, he stated that, yeah, Clive wins. Although I'm still gonna say Dante should have won that fight. For some reason, LD somewhat agrees with the whole. Yeah, mixed feelings towards that Devil May Cry Netflix adaptation. Even though I have mixed feelings with that show. I mean, like the animation, to be honest, and the voice acting, but story and characterization, not my favorite, to be honest, of that show. Yeah, I kind of surprised I had similar reaction to that. I still feel like Dante should have won that fight, but fine with the results. Anyways, I would say this episode's a peak though, and I still like the animation and music though. I just kind of disagree with this all. I just kind of feel like the other guy should have won energy, but I'll be fine with the results. Okay, time to go talk about season finale and also the what was originally supposed to be the 200 episode before replaced with Rui versus Maka, which I think would make more sense if fitting instead is Ash versus Yugi. Origins Heroes episode. Yeah, it was anime with Origin the Hero who decided why not start to create an epic banner by straight up the guy who does mostly sprite animation and straight up made a 3D episode instead. Wow, yeah, this really Express really wanted to do this matchup for a while now. I think he made custom sprites back then, animations, and suddenly this guy decided they did to make this a 3D matchup. Yeah, that was a helping the sense. I would say, wow, Origin knows how to get someone peak, to be honest. I was just checking the emojis. I would say the animation and music is peak, and also the episode I consider as how far Death Battle has come. Like, well, I would say the animation is wow, this is really peak. Wow, Origin really wants to start experimenting with 3D. His first 3D animation debut, a sprite animator debuting his 3D animation. And remember back when people were kind of disappointed it's not pixelated anime sprite animation. Technically, yes, we had some previews, and the opening was kind of sprite before moving to the extra 3D. And yeah, it was amazing to be honest. Peak as always. I would say Elsa Lovelock has done a great performance in Pikachu. And then you also get the Tinskog, the typical freelancer that I pretty much definitely like to hire in case they can get freelancer who I say pretty good, huge range, but definitely really needs to do some mainstream work. Okay, you, Michael Kovic, do some mainstream work already, but I respect you. Then goes to your Tinskog. Although a little disappointing they didn't get Little Karibo. Like, bloody hell, like, Little Karibo is right there, to be honest. You did hire him the last time. Although kind of funny and ironic considering his one of his matchups that he was featuring with Little Karibo. Yeah, of course, I'm referring to Frieza versus Megatron, but that's a I already gave my opinions on the episode. So I'm skipping that. I'm moving that aside. Yeah, honestly, the animation and music, yeah, stuff. Also, I love the original track, Millennium Monsters. Really, yeah, both we got Brandon and Darewolf, including Justin Page, I'm sorry, Jason Pager, the guy who did the vocals for the original Pokemon English opening, is working on this episode, surprisingly. Man, and yeah, I do love this music. It really hits hard. So it's got to be an amazing episode, to be honest. Animation and music really hits hard. It also, yeah. So yeah, really, it was an amazing episode. Although I do wish they did a bit more, and yeah, I did feel like the ending was kind of cheap. But then again, this is Yu-Gi-Oh, so I'm not gonna question it. So I love the short for Yugi and Yami trailer we forgot to add in. I guess someone forgot to add that. Also, I remember. Also, by the way, if you kind of disagree with the results, there's also a fun read. By the way, there was also a Q&A segment with for Yugi for Ash vs. Yugi that got released on the same date. Although you need to be a member to read the second half of this, but although I don't have really interesting plans to spend money on this. Oh yeah, I should probably mention this. Yeah, I should probably mention this real quick, is that yes, there was a deathbattle.gg website which contains a lot of stuff, including episodes that were taken down at one point, such as US vs. Galactica, or any censor episodes like Ghost Rider vs. Spawn. Yes, this also includes another episode that I probably should have mentioned, but you know what, I mean, it was an alright episode. Yes, Justin Bieber versus Rebecca Black is there. Yeah, despite the history with that episode, yeah, it was a different time period, let's not speak about it. Yeah, it was a different time period. I don't question it. But anyways, yeah, it's also there. No, there's also additional bonuses, but I'm mainly just going to be buying, basically just spending just. Well, I don't really have much incentivizing to pretty much subscribe to this channel yet, but hey, that's all. But you do you, and yeah. Overall, excuse me. Let's move that aside. Overall, I would say season 2025 is a bang. Came with our bangers after bangers after bangers, to be honest. Even if the season premiere was almost peak for me, but it feels like a banger season, to be honest. Now, time to go talk about my thoughts on what's coming in season 2026. Obviously, not much to say, although there was teasers a bit, and sort of confirming, may or may not sort of confirm that Ichigo might be also on this list, but might return, or at least a Bleach character, but that's kind of a different story. Yeah, there's a lot of speculation, rumors, there's and everything, and oh yeah, right, the Champions Island stuff. Yeah, I better just bring this up. Yeah. Okay, you know what? I might just do it as a separate video. Originally, I was going to do this as a main video, but you know what? I'll just cover it in a separate video. And you know what? It's required passionate. Just a separate video. Video. You know what? I'll just cover it anyways. Mm. Oh yeah, let's just cover 2026 real quick. Bonus episodes are going to be Light versus Columbo, that Larms episode that really Larms really well to do, and I think I saw several Easter eggs and cameos of it. Yeah, my thoughts on it has been, yeah, it's promising. Can't wait to see where things go with this, but for now, I know it's still in production, and I'm like expecting it's going to get released somewhere in January, so I'm going to expect it's going to be in January. Aang versus Traveler was a nice needed, but honestly, I remember Aang versus Traveler was one of the Kickstarter episodes I was don't have much to say. Yeah, it's surprising to see it. Although I felt like Aang should have fought in Poe or something instead of just Traveler. You know, Genshin's still popular despite some flaws, and also how I felt about the incident with the voice actors. But to be fair, I do not want. Let's just say things could have ended a lot differently and should have not recasted one of the voice actors that caused so much drama and backlash that, yeah, there's a reason I don't forgive Hoyo. But there's some parts of Hoyo I don't forgive, but that's a different story. I wish I did. Girl vs. Megamind was something that, yes, Girl and Megamind were a bit more of my childhood, although I think I had a bit more childhood with Megamind, even if the movies are more on the just good movies. I didn't really have much high or low expectations. Although I would say I'm looking forward to the new movie, to be honest. Actually, yeah, I really need to maybe see the sequel just for jokes, but yeah. But for now, yeah, this is something, to be honest. Also, and that's so funny, to be honest, by the way. Hey, and yes, I'm gonna say a little funny is this is pretty much an actual. Yeah, the closest thing to this prior to the Stepball announcement was Despicable Me 4, considering Maximilian Lamel, Maximilian Lamel is voiced by Will Ferrell, who is actually Megamind's voice actor. He technically fought Megamind before. Just gonna say, wow, that sounds a little funny, the a humor joke. Honestly, I say. But yeah, yeah, sort of hype for it. And a champion winner, right? I should probably mention this real quick. Yeah, yeah, I might have mentioned this during the season. I kind of remember the waiting period between Blade versus Buffy and Dante versus Clive was overshadowed by the champions winner. Although by the time Ash versus Yugi came around, it's already over. So why not? I'll just cover. And maybe I'll just cover it since it's already over. And since it was already over, so just 2 months. So pretty much almost 2 months worth of death, just 2 episodes worth of Death Battle, and for all the season finale. So yeah, Apple had announced a. You know what? I was just doing a separate video. So yeah. Bye.